It was close to midnight in a small Midwestern dispatch center, when the hum of computer fans was all that disturbed the silence. Dispatcher Emily Ross sipped cold coffee, eyes heavy from back-to-back calls. The night was quiet, eerily so, the kind of stillness that feels staged, like the world is holding its breath. Then, the phone rang, slicing the hush like a blade. The caller ID flashed something wrong before she could even speak, a timestamp that read, "Received, September 11, 2001. Emily frowned, thinking it must be a system error. She clicked to answer, expecting static or silence. Instead, a trembling male voice pleaded for help, his words half-choked by panic and smoke. He said, "We're trapped, the floor's falling, please, send someone." Emily's breath caught as she typed into the system. The caller's location appeared automatically on the screen, Manhattan, New York City. Her heart sank when she saw the exact coordinates, Twin Towers, South Tower, 82nd floor. She froze, her mind refusing to accept what she was seeing. This was a precinct hundreds of miles away, on a date 23 years past. But the line was active, she could hear people shouting, coughing, alarms blaring. It sounded so immediate, so alive, that she could almost smell the smoke through the phone. Emily radioed her supervisor, choking out what she saw on the monitor. He walked over, squinting at the display, then turned pale. The timestamp didn't flicker, didn't refresh. It remained locked, frozen in a moment that should not have been reachable. Something, somehow, was bridging time through the phone lines. He tried to comfort the caller, asking for his name. Between bursts of static, he said something she'd never forget. "This is Mark Daniels, security, my partner's gone, please, tell my wife I tried." His voice quivered, then stilled, replaced by an unearthly humming that rattled through her headset. That tone wasn't static. It had structure, like overlapping voices buried within the noise. Emily turned down the volume, but the sound didn't fade, it seemed to echo faintly inside the room, vibrating in the air vents, the walls, her bones. The entire dispatch center felt charged, as if reality itself was quivering. Her supervisor ordered her to end the call, assuming it was a cruel prank or some deranged hacker's trick. But before she could hit disconnect, the man screamed, a raw, desperate sound, and then there was silence. Just a faint crackle, followed by the echo of collapsing metal. The line went dead. Emily sat frozen. On her monitor, the call summary blinked in red letters, unresolved connection, duration 3 minutes, 27 seconds. But the recording system, which should have captured everything, showed nothing. No sound file, no timestamp log. The call didn't officially exist. In the morning, tech support tore through the network, seeking fragments of data, but found no trace. The phone line's data packets were blank, as though erased mid-transmission. Yet, hours later, the system auto-generated a transcription summary of the conversation, words that no one had ever typed. Those words matched almost perfectly with archived transcripts from actual 911 calls made during the attacks on September 11, 2001. Emily had never seen them before. Still, she remembered them line by line, each plea echoing identically through her headset that night. Her supervisor refused to discuss it further, ordering silence. But curiosity consumed her, and after work, she pulled public records for Mark Daniels, World Trade Center security. There it was, his obituary, dated September 12, 2001. Married, 2 children, survived by wife Karen. She called the number listed in the family record, heart pounding. A woman answered, her tone tired but polite. Emily hesitated, then asked if Karen had a husband named Mark who'd worked in the towers. The woman's voice trembled when she replied, "Yes, he tried calling me that morning, but the line cut out." Emily trembled. Every muscle tightened as she whispered that she had received his call last night. There was silence, a full 5 seconds of empty, pulsing breath, before the woman said, soft and broken, "That's impossible." The line ended with a click, but the disconnection tone played twice. Days passed, but the atmosphere in the dispatch center changed. Cold drafts crept through even when the vents were closed. Voices whispered faintly around dormant headsets. One late evening, Emily returned alone, searching for proof, anything to prove she wasn't losing her mind. She replayed random recordings from that shift, fast-forwarding through silence. At exactly 11:59 p.m., a faint sound crawled from the speakers, a breath, followed by faint metallic clanging, then one final word, still here. Her skin prickled, and her reflection in the monitor seemed to flicker. She grabbed her phone and recorded the playback, but when she reviewed it, the footage was blank, only her, sitting still, mouth open, as if she'd paused in mid-motion. Yet the timestamp kept running perfectly, and her phone battery drained from 80% to 0 within seconds. On her next shift, she asked tech support again to check the system logs. They humored her, digging through the backup drive. Then, one technician called her over, face pale. "It's here," he whispered. In the crash logs, embedded inside a corrupted folder, was the file labeled livingcall_091101. He opened it, expecting gibberish. But the file contained a distorted pulse of noise followed by an audio hiss that sounded like heavy breathing. Then, faintly, the words, "Dispatch, copy that, we're losing integrity on this floor." It ended abruptly with a shrill tone that cracked the speakers. Emily's pulse raced. The file name timestamp matched exactly the date and minute when the second tower collapsed. Yet the system's internal clock had registered that upload as occurring 24 hours earlier, on her recent shift. The software should have prevented that. It was impossible. Word spread through the department like wildfire. Some dismissed it as coincidence, others as haunting interference. But for Emily, the voices felt personal, sentient somehow, as though reaching through static to anchor themselves back into existence. It was no longer about proof, it was about understanding the glitch. She started journaling every night, noting temperature fluctuations, flickering lights, changes in ambient sound. The more she documented, the more the activity intensified. The phone system sometimes rang twice, with one tone delayed, mimicking an echo traveling backward through time itself. Then, one night, it happened again. Call received, timestamp error, September 11, 2001, exactly 8:59 a.m. Her heart stopped. The same voice, Mark's voice, whispered her name this time. "Emily, they hear us now." She stammered, asking who they were, but got only fragmented syllables, as though language itself was breaking. "It loops," he managed. "It always loops." The connection dissolved into a rapid tick-tock rhythm, like an infinite recording tape resetting itself. Data overflow triggered across multiple terminals. The building's lights flickered out for 3 full seconds, an eternity in darkness. When power returned, all monitors displayed the same message in bold red type, "Call in progress." Yet the phones were silent. Every digital clock in the room now read 8:59 a.m., frozen in that impossible moment. Weeks later, investigators found no trace of server anomalies or electrical surges. They wrote the phenomenon off as equipment malfunction under thermal stress. Emily transferred jobs soon after, but nightmares plagued her for months, always the same: elevators collapsing, smoke, the sound of a man's voice pleading. Eventually, she moved across the country, started over. Yet one sleepless night, at precisely 8:59 a.m. in her new home's time zone, her personal phone rang. No caller ID. Her pulse skipped as she answered, whispering, "Hello." The line responded with static, and one distant word, "Loop." She dropped the device, heart hammering. It vibrated once more, then went dead, the screen showing no recent calls. Every clock in her apartment blinked 12:00, time erased. She knew deep down that some echoes aren't bound by signal or distance, they persist, endlessly cycling. Paranormal researchers later analyzed the story but couldn't replicate any of the data. All archived dispatch records for that night showed perfect continuity except one, a 9-minute gap where the system rebooted itself without command. That fragment became known unofficially as the living call glitch. Skeptics blamed old copper wiring, cosmic interference, anything that would fit within reason. But none could explain how a disconnected analog signal produced precise geographic coordinates of a tower demolished decades before. Nor could they explain why the system clock rewound itself exactly to 8:59 a.m. Emily eventually vanished from all public record. Colleagues reported she stopped answering calls around her anniversary hire date, leaving behind her uniform and one note with a single phrase written twice, "Still here. Still here." To this day, dispatchers occasionally hear a faint echo of her voice looping in static. Audio engineers later claimed to find infrasonic signatures encoded in that static, consistent with seismic vibrations, not human sound. As if the call's origin had never been electrical at all, but geological, deep beneath the surface, where memory and time distort the same way sound bends in pressure. Conspiracy forums resurrected the tale, labeling it a proof of quantum bleed, an intersection between timelines under emotional resonance. For believers, Emily had witnessed a seam ripping between worlds. For skeptics, it was grief dressed as digital phenomenon. But the recordings, once heard, stayed burned into memory. The living called witch became folklore among dispatch veterans. Some refused to take midnight shifts, claiming the phones behaved differently between 8:58 and 9 a.m. Others swore they heard whispers trailing on perfectly normal calls, phrases like, "they're looping," or "help still needed." And every year on the anniversary, multiple centers across the country report simultaneous brief outages at that same minute. No files captured, no evidence stored, but those who listen closely say they can hear the faintest echo through the static. A man's voice, faint yet urgent, "Dispatch, we're still here." If you ever hear it, if a call appears outside time, repeating history's scream, do not answer. Because maybe it's not a ghost reaching across time, but time trying to reclaim the living. In the world of dispatch, there are lines that should never reconnect. Somewhere, far across invisible frequencies, an old analog signal continues to wander, a voice forever calling for help from a moment the universe refuses to let die. The 911 line stays clear, yet always, deep in the static, the hum waits, endlessly looping between the living and the lost.